ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ. ಎಜುಕೇಷನ್ ಆನ್ ಕ್ಲೌಡ್ಸ್ಗೆ ಸ್ವಾಗತ. ನನ್ನ ಹೆಸರು ನಿಮಿಲಾ. ಸೊ ಇವತ್ತಿನ ಕ್ಲಾಸ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವು ಸೆಕೆಂಡ್ PUCನ ಚಾಪ್ಟರ್ 8 ಆದಂಥ ಕಾಮನ್ ಡಿಸೀಸಸ್ ಇನ್ ಹ್ಯೂಮನ್ಸ್ನ ಕೆಲವೊಂದು ಇಂಪಾರ್ಟೆಂಟ್ ಪಾಯಿಂಟ್ಸನ್ನು ನೋಡೋಣ. ಸೊ ಬೇಸಿಕಲಿ ಕೆಲವೊಂದು ಕಾಮನ್ ಡಿಸೀಸಸನ್ನು ನಾವು ತಿಳ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋಕ್ಕೂ ಮುಂಚೆ ವಿಲ್ ನೋ ವಾಟ್ ಇಸ್ ಹೆಲ್ತ್. So health is a state of complete physical, mental and social well-being. So now emotionally, physically and mentally stabilized ಆಗಿದ್ದಾಗ ಅದನ್ನು ನಾವು ಹೆಲ್ತ್ ಅಂತ ಕರಿತೀವಿ. ನಾವು ಹೆಲ್ತ್ ವಿಲ್ ಇನ್ಕ್ರೀಸ್ ಪ್ರೊಡಕ್ಟಿವಿಟಿ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಇಟ್ ವಿಲ್ ಎನ್ಶ್ಯೂರ್ ಲಾಂಜಿಟಿವಿಟಿ. ಸೊ ನಾವು ಹೆಲ್ದಿ ಆಗಿದ್ದಾಗ ಮಾತ್ರನೇ ವಿ ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಸ್ಟೇ ಹ್ಯಾಪಿಲಿ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಫಾರ್ ಅ ಲಾಂಗರ್ ಟೈಮ್. Now ways to ensure good health is balanced diet, personal hygiene, exercise, awareness about prevention and control of diseases, and proper waste disposal and control of vectors and vaccination. So ನಮ್ಮ ಕೈನಲ್ಲಿ ಏನೇನು ಸಾಧ್ಯ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ ಅದು ಎಲ್ಲ ರೀತಿಯ ಹೈಜೀನ್ಸನ್ನು ಮತ್ತು ಬ್ಯಾಲೆನ್ಸ್ಡ್ ಡಯಟನ್ನು. ಬ್ಯಾಲೆನ್ಸ್ಡ್ ಡಯಟ್ ಇಸ್ ಸಮಥಿಂಗ್ ವೆರಿನ್ ಯು ಆರ್ ಗೋಯಿಂಗ್ ಟು ಈಟ್ ದ ರಿಕ್ವೈರ್ಡ್ ಫುಡ್, ನಾಟ್ ದ ಲಿಮಿಟೆಡ್ ಫುಡ್. ಊಟನ ಕಂಟ್ರೋಲ್ ಮಾಡಿ ತಿನ್ನೋದನ್ನು ಬ್ಯಾಲೆನ್ಸ್ ಡಯಟ್ ಅನ್ನಲ್ಲ. ಯಾವ ಪೌಷ್ಟಿಕಾಂಶ ಎಷ್ಟೆಷ್ಟರ ಮಟ್ಟಿಗೆ ಬೇಕೋ ಅದನ್ನು ಮಾತ್ರ ತಿನ್ನೋದನ್ನು ಬ್ಯಾಲೆನ್ಸ್ ಡಯಟ್ ಅಂತ ಕರಿತೀವಿ. ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಎಕ್ಸಸೈಸ್ ಇಸ್ ಅ ನಾರ್ಮಲ್ exercises, the basic warm-ups which we do for our body. Best exercises is doing household chores. Now why does a disease occur? Maybe genetic reasons. So innate deficiencies and inheritable defects are the some of causes for causing diseases. And infections, some of the infections may be because of the air pollution nowadays and water pollution and sedentary lifestyle wherein you have excess of junk foods and consumption of alcohols or drugs or lack of physical activities like exercises. Now next, coming to the pathogenic diseases. So pathogens are the parasites which enter human body by various other means and then multiply, and they are going to interfere with the normal vital activities. Coming to bacterial diseases, most common bacterial disease is the typhoid and the karlu jwara. Okay, the pathogen is Salmonella typhi and it will spread through contaminated food and water. So junk food ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ತಿನ್ನೋ ಅಂಥವರು ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ದೋಸ್ ಹೂ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಲಾಂಗರ್ ನೇಲ್ಸ್, ಆ ನೇಲ್ಸಿನಲ್ಲೂ ಕೂಡ ದೀಸ್ ಬ್ಯಾಕ್ಟೀರಿಯಾ ಆರ್ ಗೋಯಿಂಗ್ ಟು ಗೆಟ್ ಅಕ್ಯುಮುಲೇಟೆಡ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ವೆನ್ ವಿ ಕನ್ಸ್ಯೂಮ್ ಅಥವಾ ಕಂಟ್ಯಾಮಿನೇಟೆಡ್ ಫುಡ್ ತಿಂದಾಗ, ಕಂಟ್ಯಾಮಿನೇಟೆಡ್ ವಾಟರ್ ಕುಡಿದಾಗ ದ ಸ್ಯಾಲ್ಮೊನೆಲ್ಲಾ ಸ್ಪೀಶೀಸ್ ಇಸ್ ಗೋಯಿಂಗ್ ಟು ಎಂಟರ್ ಅವರ್ ಬಾಡಿ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಕಾಸ್ ಟೈಫಾಯ್ಡ್. ನಾವು ಸೈಟ್ ಆಫ್ ಇನ್ಫೆಕ್ಷನ್ ಇಸ್ ದ ಸ್ಮಾಲ್ ಇಂಟೆಸ್ಟೈನ್. ಆಸ್ ಐ ಟೋಲ್ಡ್ ಯು, ಇದನ್ನು ಕರಳು ಜ್ವರ ಅಂತ ಕೂಡ ಕರೀತಾರೆ. ಸಿಂಪ್ಟಮ್ಸ್ ಇಸ್ ಹೈ ಫೀವರ್ ವಿಚ್ ವಿಲ್ ಬಿ ಅಟ್ ರೆಗ್ಯುಲರ್ ಇಂಟರ್ವಲ್ಸ್. ಅಂದರೆ ಒಂದೇ ಟೈಮಲ್ಲಿ ಫೀವರ್ ಇರೋದಿಲ್ಲ. Sometimes it will be very high and sometimes you will be normal. Stomach pain, headache, loss of appetite, constipation, intestinal perforations in severe cases. Now confirmatory test is the Vidal test wherein you are going to check for the Salmonella species presence. Now next is the pneumonia which is caused by Streptococcus pneumoniae and Haemophilus influenza. So adu throat alli baruvanta jwara. And it is going to spread through droplets and aerosols which are released from an infected person or by sharing the glasses or utensils which are used by a pneumonic patient. Now site of infection is the alveoli wherein I told you the lungs are going to get affected and the throat region will be so hot and it will cause difficulty in breathing. And symptoms are fever, chills andre ಚಳಿ, ಯಾವಾಗಲೂ ಚಳಿ ಇದ್ದಂಗೆ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಕಾಫ್, ಹೆಡೇಕ್, ಲಿಪ್ಸ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ನೇಲ್ಸ್ ವಿಲ್ ಬಿಕಮ್ ಗ್ರೇ ಇನ್ ಸಿವಿಯರ್ ಕೇಸಸ್. ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಇಸ್ ದ ವೈರಲ್ ಡಿಸೀಸಸ್ ವಿಚ್ ಇಸ್ ವೆರಿ ವೆರಿ ಕಾಮನ್. ಸೊ ನಮಗೆ ಕೋಲ್ಡ್ ಮಾತ್ರ ಲೈಫ್ ಟೈಮ್ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇರುತ್ತೆ ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ಕೋಲ್ಡ್ ಇಸ್ ಕಾಸ್ಡ್ ಬೈ ಫ್ಲೂ, ದ ವೈರಸಸ್. ಸೊ ವೈರಸಸ್ ವಿಲ್ ಆಲ್ವೇಸ್ ಬಿ ಡಿಫರಿಂಗ್ ಇನ್ ದರ್ ಜೀನ್ಸ್. Now coming to common cold which is the rhinovirus and the site of infection is nose and respiratory passage. ಎಲ್ಲಿ ಪೊಲ್ಯೂಷನ್ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಇರುತ್ತೆ ಅಲ್ಲೂ ಕೂಡ ಈ ರೀತಿ ವೈರಲ್ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪೋಜರ್ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಇಲ್ ಸ್ಪ್ರೆಡ್ ಥ್ರೂ ಡ್ರಾಪ್ಲೆಟ್ಸ್ ವಿಚ್ ಆರ್ ರಿಲೀಸ್ ವೈಲ್ ಕಾಫಿಂಗ್ ಆರ್ ಸ್ನೀಸಿಂಗ್ ಆರ್ ಈವನ್ ವಿತ್ ದ ಕಂಟ್ಯಾಮಿನೇಟೆಡ್ ಆಬ್ಜೆಕ್ಟ್ಸ್. ಸೊ ಅವರು ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡಿದಂಥ ಕರ್ಚೀಫ್ ಅದನ್ನು ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡಿದಾಗಲೂ ಕೂಡ ಆರ್ ಬೀಯಿಂಗ್ ವೆರಿ ಕ್ಲೋಸ್ ಟು ದೆಮ್ ವೈಲ್ ದೇ ಆರ್ ಸ್ನೀಸಿಂಗ್ ಆರ್ ಕಾಫಿಂಗ್ ವಿಲ್ ಕಾಸ್ ದೀಸ್. And symptoms are the nasal congestion and discharge and sore throat, cough, headache and tiredness. Next is the Protozoan Diseases which is malaria. The pathogen is Plasmodium species which is Plasmodium vivax, Plasmodium falciparum and Plasmodium malaria. and the main vector for this is female Anopheles mosquito. So female Anopheles mosquito is the vector which will cause the disease, and this is not the one which is going to cause the disease directly. So it is a protozoal diseases caused by Plasmodium species, and is mosquito bite na mukantara namige disease barata, and this will not contain this pathogen, okay, within it. And symptoms is high grade fever and chills. Next is amoebiasis, wherein you will have loose motions, which is caused by entamoeba histolytica, and housefly is the vector for this, which is going to spread the infection. Site of infection is your large intestine, and symptoms will be constipation and abdominal pain or cramps with stools with mucus and blood clots. Next, fungal diseases is the ringworms, wherein the pathogen is Microsporum and Trichophyton and Epidermophyton. So now it will spread through towels, clothes, comb, which is fungi acquired from the soil. So ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಆ ಒಂದು soil ನಿಂದ ಬಂದಂತ equipments ಅನ್ನು ನಾವು ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡಿದಾಗ we get that disease. Now coming to the symptoms, appearance of dry scaly lesions on the various parts of body with intestine itching. Now diseases which are caused by worms and the parasites. So ascariasis, which is roundworm athwa ascaris, and it is going to spread through water, vegetables, fruits which are contaminated by the feces of an infected person. Now symptoms will be internal bleeding, muscular pain, fever, anemia, wherein our blood hemoglobin is going to get reduced, iron content, and blockage of the intestinal passage. Next is the elephantiasis or filariasis, wherein your feet is going to get bulged a lot. Pathogen bandu Visheraria, which is V. malayi and V. bancroft. Now it is going to spread through the bite of female mosquito, which is the vector, and symptoms are chronic inflammation of the organs, wherein the lymphatic vessels of the lower limbs. As I told you, your legs are gonna get bulged. Now coming to the life cycle of Plasmodium, it requires 2 hosts to complete its life cycle. So Plasmodium is the one which is going to cause typhoid. Next, Plasmodium will cause malaria. Now when female Anopheles mosquito will bite a healthy human being, it will release Plasmodium in it, which will live inside the body as a sporozoite, which is in the infectious form. It is the infectious form of a species. Now these parasites will multiply through asexual reproduction in the liver cells, and they finally burst the liver cells, and sporozoites are released into the blood. Now these will enter the RBCs and further multiply again by asexual reproduction, and they also will burst the RBC cells. Now bursting of RBCs is accompanied by release of toxic substance called the hemozone, which is associated with fever and chills. Now the RBCs, only sporozoites will change into gametocytes, wherein they come to the sexual state, and these gametocytes are going to multiply. Now when deceased person is bitten by a female Anopheles mosquito, the gametocytes are introduced into the mosquito. Now these gametocytes will fertilize and then develop inside the intestine of the mosquito to form the sporozoites again, and they are again stored in the salivary glands of mosquito, and it is going to inject it into a healthy person when a mosquito is bitten to him. So this is the life cycle of the Plasmodium vivax. Plasmodium species. Now immunity. So what is this immunity? It is the ability of the body to fight the diseases which cause disease causing organisms in our body. Now types of immunity. Immunity is basically 2 types, which is innate immunity and acquired immunity. So innate immunity is present from the time of birth, and it is not very specific, and it consists of 4 barriers, which is physical barriers, the skin and mucous coating of the respiratory, gastrointestinal and urogenital tract, which will prevent the entry of microbes into the body. Next is physiological barriers, wherein acid in stomach, saliva in mouth, tears from eyes are one such barriers, and cellular barriers, wherein blood has leukocytes such as polymorphonuclear leukocytes, monocytes, etc., and tissue has macrophages which phagocytose the microbes. So it is going to phagocyte the microbes. And next is the cytokine barriers, wherein the special proteins called interferons are secreted by virus infected cells which will prevent the further spread of this viral infection. Now next is the acquired immunity, which is acquired andre it is produced in response to the encounter with the pathogen based on the memory. It is a pathogenic specific. Now if a person is affected with typhoid for the first time, the next time the same disease is not going to be caused within him, because he would have already registered the antibodies andre avara memory nalli with the help of the acquired immunity the cells are going to fight back against the typhoid causing species. Now when a pathogen for the first time infects a person, low intensity immune response is generated because as the primary response, as I told you. And when the same pathogen will attack again, intensified immune response is generated, which is prevent the occurrence of the disease, which is secondary response. So primary response inalli will build the antibodies, and secondary response anta bandaga the antibodies which are built will act against the pathogen which will cause the disease in us. Now acquired immunity will involve two types of cells, the B lymphocytes and T lymphocytes. B lymphocytes will secrete proteins called antibodies in response to the pathogens, wherein they are the specialized proteins with 4 peptide chains, andre 2 light chains and 2 heavy chains, and they are denoted as H2L2. Now IgA, IgM, IgE are the examples of some antibodies, and they will generate humoral immune response which is found in blood. Now T lymphocytes, so these are the B cells to produce, these will help the B cells to produce antibodies, and they will generate a cell mediated immune response. Now this response will help body to differentiate between self and non-self as occurs in case of a graft rejection. So ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ ಸೆಲ್ಫ್ ಇಮ್ಯೂನ್ ರೆಸ್ಪಾನ್ಸ್ ಆರ್ ನಾನ್ ಸೆಲ್ಫ್ ಇಮ್ಯೂನ್ ರೆಸ್ಪಾನ್ಸ್ ಅನ್ನೋದು ಈ ಒಂದು ಟಿ ಲಿಂಫೋಸೈಟ್ಸ್ನ ಮುಖಾಂತರವೇ ತಿಳಿತಾ ಹೋಗುತ್ತೆ. Now difference between active and passive immunity. So what is active immunity? It is naturally acquired immunity produced in the host body in response to the antigen. And immunization and body naturally getting immune to its microbes which had caused infection previously are the examples of active immunity. Andre ನಮ್ಮ ದೇಹದಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದು ಡಿಸೀಸ್ ಕಾಸ್ ಆದಾಗ ನಮ್ಮ ದೇಹನೇ ಅದರಿಂದ ಚೇತರಿಸ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋದನ್ನು ನಾವು ಆಕ್ಟಿವ್ ಇಮ್ಯುನಿಟಿ ಅಂತ ಕರಿತೀವಿ. Similarly, passive immunity is a ready-made antibodies which are provided to individual. ಅಂದರೆ ಈಗ ನಮಗೇನಾದರೂ ಜ್ವರ ಆ ಥರ ಬಂದಾಗ if we are going to take a tablet, then that is what is passive immunity, wherein we are going to develop the immunity and they will protect against the foreign antigens. Now colostrums which are present in mother's milk will contain IgA, and this is the where the fetus will get the antibodies from the mother through the placenta. So first initial lactation time of a mother is very important and necessary for the younger babies, because it contains colostrum which is an IgA, immunoglobulin A producing antibody, the one which produces the antibodies. Now how does the vaccinations help? Vaccines are nothing but the inactivated pathogens. These inactivated pathogens, when introduced in the body, will produce a primary immune response, and antibodies are produced against the pathogen. Now memory B and T cells are produced for this, and when the pathogen will attack the person, the memory B and T cells will generate massive immune response, and then the pathogen is killed. Now problems of immune system is the allergies. So exaggerated immune response to certain antigens will present in the environment. So they are allergens. So these are substances which are in response to allergy which are produced, like the dust and pollen. And antibodies involved, the IgE type. During allergic reaction, chemicals like histamines and serotonins are released. Now symptoms will be sneezing, watery eyes and difficulty in breathing, etc. An allergy test, how is it done? Patient is injected with small doses of allergens to monitor his response. Now antihistamines and adrenalines and steroids will be given so that the symptoms of allergy are going to subside. Next is the autoimmunity. Now in autoimmunity, body will generate immune response against its own cells. So autoimmunity ಅಂದರೆ ನಮ್ಮದೇ ಜೀವಕೋಶಗಳ ಮೇಲೆ, ಲೈಕ್ ನಮ್ಮದೇ ಸೆಲ್ಸ್ ಮೇಲೆ ನಮ್ಮ ಬಾಡಿನೇ ಆಂಟಿಬಾಡಿಯಾಗಿ ವರ್ಕ್ ಮಾಡುವಂಥದ್ದು. Example, why will this be caused? Genetic and other unknown reasons. Example will be the rheumatoid arthritis, wherein it is an autoimmune disease. So autoimmune diseases are such diseases wherein our body itself is going to cause disease, treating our own organs as antigens. Now human immune system. Lymphoid organs are of two types, which is primary lymphoid organ and secondary lymphoid organs. So primary lymphoid organs consist of bone marrow and thymus, and here immature lymphocytes are differentiated to form the antigen sensitive lymphocytes. Now next is the bone marrow, wherein all blood cells including the lymphocytes are produced, and thymus is responsible for maturation of the T lymphocytes, and this lobed organ is situated near the heart, and this is going to keep it reducing in size as the age will increase. Now secondary lymphoid organs. Lymphocytes will migrate here after attaining maturity, and it includes spleen, lymph nodes, tonsils, Peyer's patches and appendix. Now spleen, this is a large bean-shaped organ which consists of lymphocytes and phagocytes, which will act as filters for blood. Lymph nodes, which are located at different points throughout the immune system, will trap the antigens present in lymph or tissue fluid, and these antigens will cause the activation of lymphocytes, and they are going to generate immune response. Next is the MALT, which is the mucosal associated lymphoid tissue, wherein the Lyne's major tract, that is respiratory, digestive and urogenital tract, constitutes 50% of the lymphoid tissues in the body.